Here we are, and it is time to discard some old books. What do you think? How attached are you? Are you, a bookworm? How attached are you to books? Do you like books? Do you like to read? I have to admit, I grew up, this is one of the close memories, is that I was always an avid reader because I had a mother that brought us to the library wherever we were. We grew up in Boston, Massachusetts, and my mother would take me and my sisters in, the big old-fashioned wheeled baby carriages with the big wheels and the like little canopy and everything. And we would go to Harvard Square. We would go to the Harvard Library. My mother was a huge reader, and I was always astonished at how she could be reading like 10 books at a time, and she was a speed reader. And I can't say I ever learned to speed read, because for me, I feel like I like to soak up the words and really immerse in the reading, the fantasy, the imagination, the creativity that books bring, right? So reading is just phenomenal. I mean, you can always just soak in and appreciate so much information, whether it be fiction or nonfiction. It's what makes us expand our thinking. And depending on the material you read, just like music, whatever the exposure of the vibrational level is, then you can elevate yourself. Great example, Power versus Force by David R. Hawkins. What I learned by reading that book, it's one of my all-time favorites. And I get a lot of books from the library still too. When I first read that, I got that from the Clearwater Library years ago. A girlfriend recommended it to me. And in the book, he talks about kinesiology and how different emotions calibrate on a scale from 0 up. And it's based on consciousness. It's based on the vibrations. And that in reality, certain emotions are how we move through the scales, right? How we evolve, how we grow. And that different books, the higher the vibration of the book, the more it can elevate your consciousness, the more it can elevate and help you evolve and grow. I also found it fascinating because that book totally changed my life. In addition to finding Kundalini Yoga and just various different, nuggets along the way. I'm an avid researcher, so when something gets my interest and attention, I can dive deep into it. I can just keep on scrolling through, wanting to learn more information. So I have a lot of books, and as you can see, Buddy's going to join me if he keeps up we got a licky pup. Buddy. Watch this. See, I got him on screen because we want to make sure he's not chewing himself up because he just got a bath yesterday. He's a good boy. He's all nice and soft. He's like a silky pup. So yesterday I cleaned Buddy and got him really, really nice and soft and clean. And the fleas are really bad, so he's got that nervous tick, and it causes neurological response, right? Because a parasite will trigger neurological issues in you. So, we love the bud, and he is off over there in the corner so that we can keep an eye on him. So, all of the books that I own, some from the past, and a lot given to me by my mom, some she felt I needed to read, really books I think and feel were more meant for her, and that what she was doing by sending them to me was trying to get me to understand where she was coming through in her life and her traumas and the things she was researching to heal what was going on within herself. So I have 2 boxes here. I have a lot of yoga books, and this over here, this bookshelf, which isn't that big, the majority of these books that are all in here are books that I utilize, and there's some others that aren't even in here. To teach yoga, Kriyas especially with Kundalini Yoga. I have a lot of books in the corner, bookshelves. It's a lot to get through in one night. So we're just going to focus over here. So I was planning on coming live a little earlier. We had an amazing day. We went bike riding, all three of us. My dad came over. We have another new rad bike for myself, and the Ninja. My dad's bike had a flat, so we had to go and get the tire repaired. And that was super awesome because the cafe cycle or cafe place up the street here in Dunedin, really amazing bike shop. They took care of my dad and fixed a couple little tweaky things for just 13 bucks, people. You know what? Don't try to be a professional in something you're not, knowing what you're doing. Go hire someone and save yourself the time, the energy, and the stress, and learn through, you know, it's an empowerment to ask and reach out and let those who know better to do it. So we have these 2 boxes over here. I made guacamole, and tonight I picked up some siete chips because they were $3. Let's open these up because I need a snack to carry me through this, along with hydration, right? So we rode a good 13 miles, had a beautiful brunch, pancakes, oh! And apparently downtown Clearwater has one of those fitness, you know, like the bodybuilders where they get up in all those, you know, fancy bikinis. There were men and women that were huge and tan and fit and just, you know, like when you go up there and they do their little poses and, you know, like, you know, all that stuff, right? That was me in another life. I never actually competed. I got to a point where I was ready to, but then I got orders to go to Belgium. And that took took a back seat. So it was no longer even a glimmer in my mind. But what was ironic is our waiter turns around and asks me, "Oh, you're so fit. You're here for this thing?" I'm like, "No, we live up the street. We're just here for a bike ride and enjoying brunch." So, but it was a wonderful compliment. And as you can tell, I got a little son. Hey, Cheryl Ann. I know Cheryl is tuning in because this is hard. It's like, I don't want to get rid of my books. But there's some books I definitely don't need. And there's different ways to get rid of books. You can donate them. You can bring them to your library. Now, not all libraries will accept them anymore because some libraries are getting rid of them and some are going more digital, what have you. There have probably been more library closures over the years because of public funding taking away from it, which in reality, public libraries are like a life support for low-income families or just overall. It's a great way to commune, to bring people together. You meet wonderful people in the library. I mean, like I said, I grew up in the library. My mom had her cardiac arrest in the library. I mean, you know, it's very symbolic of my mom. So when we had to go up to Omaha and to learn that she was in the library, I was like, well, of all the places, at least I know she was surrounded by people to try to help her too. And to me, at least I feel like she was at home, per se. So I made up a huge batch of guacamole before I decided to come live, right? Because I needed snacks. And because everything's better with guac. Everything's better with avocado. Garlic, onion, cilantro, lime, some cumin. I put a little curry powder in there, some cayenne. I even put some fennel seed in here along with the cumin. And it is just delicioso, delicious beyond, mwah, as Tom would say, guatamoots, right? So, I have to have a chip before we begin. I found also some of my yearbooks. That will be interesting. I went to 3 different high schools, 3 different states. They didn't have the nacho, which are my favorite, or the lime, which would be my second favorite. They had sea salt. Let me know in the comments if you already tried these. Also, let me know in the comments, are you doing this challenge and where are you at? These have a funny smell and taste. They almost smell and taste kind of stale. I don't know if it's just me. I almost feel like I need the Rad Ninja to tell me, because he's just as good to know. And these are the ones he likes. But he's camping. See, I opt for the glamping. Anybody else? I admit I can camp, but it's not my favorite thing to do. Hi, Jennifer. I know, right? Avocado. Maybe it was just the initial. The second chip's really good. Heck, I could just eat the guac on its own. Okay. Without further ado, I don't think I need this book anymore. This was given to me by my mom years ago. The Woman's Guide to Buying Houses, Co-ops, and Condominiums. How to buy with little money down, advice on location, selecting and inspecting a home, strategies for negotiating the deal and getting a mortgage, inside tips on buying property for investment and speculation, featuring the best information on co-ops and condos anywhere. So it's interesting because when I was younger, I set certain goals for myself. One of them was to buy and own my own home before the age of 25. I also had a mental note that I didn't want to get married before the age of 25 because I felt like I needed to explore and live my life beforehand. I've always been very independent. I haven't felt like I needed someone in my life. When I came to relationship, now I do admit having had I don't want to say codependency. If anything, I'm an easy runner. Like in my past, I'm like, this ain't working. It's easier for me to walk away. But I also know that I have a very strong mind and it's psychological. If someone breaks up with you, psychologically, your mind will be like, how dare you? What's wrong with you? But wait a minute, what's wrong with me? And there becomes this like when someone rejects you, it's an interesting psychology. It's like you almost want to get them back to prove that you were worth it and the rejection wasn't really about you. But the reality is when someone leaves you or the relationship fizzles, that's a blessing. I'm just saying. Because I had this one relationship, and that's where it stuck out the most, where I kept thinking, I'm not happy. Like, why am I holding on to this? And funny enough, he wasn't either, or, he went elsewhere and whatever. And then he broke up with me, and I'm like, no! Like, talk about a Jedi mind trick. Because I was like in my mind thinking, why are you wanting to be back with this person when you didn't even want to be with this person? You weren't even happy. Well, long story short, that relationship was on and off for over 10 years and actually is a good friend of mine. It's just a funny, again, we have these people that come into our lives. They teach us about ourselves. And relationship, we're going to learn the most about ourselves because of how we interact. And it's all about communication. If you can't learn to communicate properly, you're just going to keep re-encountering the same issues, whether in intimate relationships or in relationships with other people, right? Hey, Chris. Hey, Jennifer. What are y'all doing? What, are you reading a good book, or are you purging and decluttering and discarding old books? So this book was written, let's see what year this was. So it was in the 80s, 1981. And so having been raised mostly in Massachusetts and Maine and here in Florida and somewhat in New York, I'm more of a New Englander at heart, right? So it's an interesting dynamic to be around certain things. This book I no longer need. Heck, I'm on my second home and I'm really, really picky. I research. I've learned a lot of lessons. I think the biggest lessons I've learned, especially when I first bought this house, is when you're dealing with contractors. They can be shady. I don't care. I find my lesson has been, part of it is if you expect the worst of someone, you're going to get the worst of them. And then you have to truly trust and know people who have gone through similar experiences that you can ask, hey, do you recommend somebody? And most of the people I've asked, my close girlfriends especially, goddesses really hands down always give great suggestions, have given me the best tips and suggested the right people. Funny enough, my plumbing could have cost me thousands of dollars, people, to replace toilet. The whole floor had to be redone, and the toilets had to be done. The tub had to have a new drain fitted because it was all rusted around it. To swap out my sinks and do the faucets. I have the back building, the Love Shack, that toilet. To get the spigot done out front, to get the spigot done out back, to do the kitchen sink, I only paid $400. Because I got lucky because my girlfriend recommended someone. Always ask people closest to you. And make sure they've had good experiences. That's the key. But please, don't do like I've done and just, and then you have to also know your people who are also having had good experiences, right? So in the beginning, I was having like, people who came into my life were definitely shady, but then the person who recommended them initially was a little bit shady too. So there's a vibration that carries over and over and over, right? Yeah, that's super cheap, Jennifer. And it wasn't because he liked me in the beginning, because it wasn't that way. He was just a genuinely sweet and kind individual. So, let's move on with books. So that's what kind of happens, right? Certain books will bring up certain interesting stories, right? Chips. Chips and salsa. Here's another book my mom gave me. Linda Leigh Schuler, Voice of the Eagle. Let me know in the comments if you've read any of these books. I never read this book, but it was one that was given to me by my mom. And when I get a book where my mom would highlight, underline, earmark, and sticky note. Leda, center, ballast, healer. Like, this is the kind of thing my mom would do. She would put little things like this. Look at this, for example. Right? Dialogue, my children, Lori, of the spirit, something of the spirit. You know, I mean, my mom would just do that, and there's all sorts of little things in here. Indiscriminate behavior, discerning. Like, that's my mom. But this book isn't even nearly marked as some of the books that my mom has sent me. Another book I definitely don't need. But if you've read it, let me know. Voice of the Eagle. Now, and I have a lot more books I've got to dig out that need to go. So, this is called The Dark Side of Camelot by Seymour Hirst, which, I mean, if you know about the Kennedys, you know, it was the Camelot. This is, you know, one of the things that when you look at Hollywood, famous people in positions of what we consider power, we only look at the outward appearance of, oh, it looks so glamorous, it looks so wonderful, oh, they're so lucky, they've got such a great life, so it appears, right? You know, I was having this conversation with my dad, and it's so easy to say, oh, the rich do this and the rich do that, and that they take away from the poor and blah, blah, blah. Well, if you're saying something like that, you're implying that you yourself are making a judgment toward them, and they're discriminating and just, you know, pushing away and rejecting. When in reality, you know, I don't care how much money you have. If the true richness is appreciating what you have and not being distracted at what somebody has. Because money, if you place so much value on it, it's not as important as much as what you have that's rich within you. Now, don't get me wrong. I love money. It's a tool. And I'm not going to reject money just because somebody thinks it's evil. That's their belief. And I've had to make peace with money. Hey, when I have it, even when I don't, my friends will tell you I'm a very generous individual. So I'm not even worried about stuff like that. But what I find the most important thing in this life is to not take away the value of what you have inside you, all around you, within your life, and reject money as if that takes away from what you have. Nothing takes away from what you have but you, right? So I just noticed. Let me see if I can. There, that's a little better, isn't it? I think what happened is, ooh, la 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 la. Hi Amanda, how are you doing tonight? Tell me what your favorite books are in the comments, everyone, too. So there's a little bit of dust on some of these books because I took them out of the laundry room. America, Land of Beauty and Splendor. This is the Reader's Digest. Now, again, there's another thing I grew up with. We used to get the Reader's Digest in my home. We also used to get the National Geographics, which I thought were pretty cool to look through. And so in this book, the pictures are nice. And it goes through the different states and it has pictures and information about each of the different states. I haven't looked through this in a long time. Let's say, for example, when you look at New Hampshire and you open it up, it gives you all like the land, the people and the land, the population. Gives you even the vacation, different contacts, historical sites, people, famous sons and daughters of the states, oddities and specialties, places to visit, things to do. You know, that's kind of cool because, you know what? I think Dad and I were talking about doing a road trip. And when I was younger, growing up, and my mom would today, let's go for a trip. We never knew what state we're going to end up in. I mean, how gorgeous is that? Anybody been there? This is Elephant Rock, one of the most curious of the eroded sandstone formations in Valley of Fire State Park. And that is in Nevada. How rad. So I'm going to put this off to the side. Might be a good gift for someone, or might be something I need to look through at least once before I get rid of it. Now, the weather book. Another kind of like one of those things you get in the mail, USA Today. Now, this is cool too. Like, I always thought, the supercell, the king of thunderstorms, it tells you the beginning of a mesocyclone. Like, it gives you detail stuff. Like, this is really cool, like, who's got kids, right? Somebody who wants to learn. I'm living in Florida, people. We get hurricanes. Right? Reader's Digest. And used to love to read the stories. How barometers work. I mean, my gosh. Why the winds blow. How cold air builds. How snow enhances cold. Inside the Sun, Our Life-Giving Inferno. Anybody know about this stuff? These are the kind of things you can put off to the side. You know somebody with kids, you can give them to the kids. Now, yeah, this is old books. So my mother gave me tons of books that were really about history. And when I say history, I mean like Abigail Adams, Mary Lincoln. There are some cool books in here that she gave me. Oh, here's another one. I know what's happening here. We can only learn to love by giving. Open your heart fully if you want to receive love fully, right? Doo-doo-doo. So, this is the kind of book my mom would send me. Barbara Ehrenreich, Bait and Switch, The Futile Pursuit of the American Dream. Anybody? So, growing up, you know, Mom was very involved in feminism. Feminism from the perspective, it's not been an easy road for women. I mean, let's get real. Conversations with our daughters, you know, books like Women's Letters, celebrating the inner beauty of woman. You know, this was another book my mom gave me. Beauty is not only in the creamy cheek, the well-formed brow, the freshness of the face of youth. Beauty of the heart, the soul that reaches out to grace the world with strength, love, kindness, compassion, devotion, and tenderness. I haven't looked through this. No one can understand the thoughts and feelings of a woman quite like another woman. That's why God gave us mothers, sisters, and friends. The most precious gift you have given to me is the knowledge that I am not alone. You know, there was a post I put up the other day regarding the most beautiful gift of a woman, knowing that she doesn't have to explain herself. So if you saw that, I had, you know, and I'm from this perspective, it's really easy. And I'm going to say this isn't a slam against men whatsoever. It's mostly for awareness. It's really easy for some men out there to turn around and say, well, you know, we're all one, you know, be all spiritual, we're supposed to accept. And it's like, wait a minute, honey. Men have always been taken care of, first by women and then by one another. You know, the boys club, what have you. This is how I was raised. And I found my mom was a little harsh on these subjects, so I don't harp on them, but it's a truth, it's a reality that we've experienced. And until you have been a woman and chosen to incarnate into a lifetime to experience what it's like to be a woman, to be a mother, to be a daughter, to be a sister, to be, you know, just in a place of the expectation that you're always meant to give, to nurture, to be the support, and not always receive it in return. And not because we don't, it's a lot of conditioning. Ladies, I'd love for you to just chime in if you have anything to share on this, because I know to have a man tell me, why can't we just move on from this, is like to erase the fact that there are things that need to be said, there are still major healings that have to occur. I am one to hold a man sacred in his divine feminine and masculine, to come whole and be good with himself, just as much as I would anticipate a man to honor my divinity, my femininity, and also the masculinity within me as being whole and sacred. But unfortunately, until that happens, any man who tries to tell me, oh, well, you're equal, I'm sorry, it doesn't roll or settle well, right? It's something that to feel honored, the person has to be honorable as well. The reciprocity. If a man is truly honoring a woman, they won't turn around and tell you that we should be all together as one. That's like brushing stuff under a carpet. So you could take that as almost as an insult, the way that I read it, but I was like, oh well, it's okay. I'm not here to try to explain or make someone understand either. This could take a while if I continue with stories on this, huh? There's a lot of books in here my mom sent. And so then there's things like this. When she would send me a book or a box, she would collage the box with things of cutouts, which I love. And I had kept a lot of those because especially butterflies. I kept the Success magazine for a reason. This I got when I was at Date with Destiny with Anthony Robbins. I will have to look through this to see if there's anything I need. You know, it's one thing to keep a magazine. It's another to take that magazine, and if there's articles in it, just rip out the articles, get rid of the rest of the magazine. At least you reduce the amount of clutter, and create a folder if you have some purpose for it, and put it in the folder. And then title the folder whatever it is you're working on. got guacamole, eat it up. It's so yummy. Bait and switch, though. I don't need this. So with Mary, Mrs. A. of Lincoln, the wife of Abraham Lincoln, I almost feel like I need to read this. But there's so many books. I mean, I can only read so much. And I almost want to send this to my sister or something, but, you know, both of us are like, I don't know if I have time. The Truth, Preparation and Patience. And then she highlighted, in the long run, she replied, understanding a hard truth is better than believing a lie. Let me repeat that. Understanding a hard truth is better than believing a lie. Don't you agree? None of us want to be sucked in and stuck in a lie. We just want it sweet and simple. Just give it to me and then I can handle it and deal with it and move on. I don't need to be hanging anywhere. And she's got all of these pieces of paper in here. Earmarks and stickies and pages. But I'm going to put this in the books to get rid of pile. I also have Buying a House in Italy. Now, I never got a chance to get through this yet. I was talking to my dad earlier today about how, you know, one of the places we were both discussing, we need to look into is, I've been wanting a place in Portugal, because it's a very temperate climate where you can still grow year-round. I don't know, Mom might not have my mom probably got this for me because she knew how much I loved living over in Italy. So, and it's a pretty new book, so it wasn't that long ago, at least in the past couple years. It's got everything from Viva l'Italia, dealing with the history, culture, the visas, the permits, the healthcare, the education, communications, and keeping in touch, food, drink, and shopping. Then the part 2 is location, location, location. Profiles of regions and climates and types of property available, comparative tables of prices, and selecting the best places to buy. Part 3 is the purchasing process, the red tape, the legal, other expert information, currency conversion, conveying, contracts and deposits. And then part 4, what happens next, restoration, renovation, dealing with local artisans, gardens, pools, security, making money from your property, removals, and pets and customs. Now, one thing I do know from friends that have gone through this process, you have to be so diligent. You have to know things like, you may put a bid on a home and then find out later that there's a lien on the property and you lose your money. I had a good friend of mine who was trying to avoid that, and that's exactly what ended up happening. He lost thousands of dollars. It was a very expensive lesson, he told me, and then he stopped looking for a while. I don't know if he ever went back into trying. These are people that are American that speak Italian fluently. Lived there for years, know it. I don't feel like I need this book. Alright, so here's another book from my mom. The Inner Lives of Children of Divorce, Between Two Worlds, based on a pioneering new national study. After the divorce, our parents may no longer have been in conflict, but the conflict between the worlds was still alive. This is so true. Yep, being too much like Dad could threaten the mom self inside us, and vice versa. These conflicts were not raised in conversation with or between our parents, or with anybody else, but internally. We were one in our bodies, but we did not feel one inside. Even the good divorce left us struggling with divided selves. How many of you are the product of divorce? My parents divorced in 1988 officially, but they filed in 84, so it was a good 4 years of going through that. I don't feel I need this. I've been working so much on, wow, what children of divorce want. That's what she had earmarked in here. One true home. And then it has like a whole questionnaire in the book. I don't need this book. So that's what my healing has been about, is just reprogramming and clearing the stories of my parents. For years I spent, and I was having this conversation with somebody else the other day too, I spent years single because I wanted to work on me, and knowing that I had picked up the patterns of my parents meant, I no longer want to carry that legacy forward. I want to heal, because if I heal myself, that's going to help others heal. It really helps heal my family. Now, I was kind of reflecting earlier about how one of my prayers had been that my parents found an accord, that my parents were able to come together again as friends, as compassionate individuals together. And although my mom passed this summer, I feel like that finally happened. And you know, my dad is much kinder with his words about her. He has his moments, but I think it's important. Abigail Adams, a biography, another, you know, one of our women from history that, I mean, it even has a family tree of the Quincy Smith's family in the beginning of the book. This was a book I definitely did want to read. So Abigail Smith Adams, at 22, 2 years after her marriage to John Adams, wrote on October 25th of 1764, "My good man is so very fat, and I am lean as a rail." Pastel by Benjamin Blythe. That was a picture that was next to it. It's interesting. I can only imagine what it was like to live in those times. You know, many a woman bit her tongue, right? Because we were always supposed to go along to get along, and that women should be seen and not heard, and look pretty and be proper, right? When in reality, we got so much to offer. And so why should we suppress anything that is our expression of self? Hi, Sen. How are you? Ooh. Chips ahoy! Here's another book my mom sent. Telling Yourself the Truth. There's some dust on these books. Find your way out of depression, anxiety, fear, anger, and other common problems by applying the principles of misbelief therapy. This is something I need to give as a gift. The misbelief and lack of self-control. This could be a really good book for someone. So there's even once fail, always fails is a misbelief. I can't deny myself misbelief. This could be a really good book. I'm gonna probably hold this off for someone because something's telling me someone needs this. All right, Healing the Broken Brain, another book from my mom. Science and the Bible reveal how the brain heals. Somehow, I swear this book came up in conversation with someone recently. This even has a chapter on how to conquer depression. Practical ways to start a healing habit. Do you ever get tired of trying to remember all the things that need to be done? Ever wish others would do their own thinking? Remember where they put things, remember their own appointments, remember to get their own things done? You have a hard enough time thinking for yourself without having to think for everybody else. Ladies, raise a hand. I'm certain I'm not the only one. Just saying, right? Well, it just could be the learning of a lot of good habits is just the thing you need. Habits can take a huge load of energy off your mind. I know, because if things didn't have their proper places, or if I didn't have a routine as to how I do things, I would go out of my mind trying to find things, remember things, organize, etc. Well-established habits are almost completely automatic. They hardly require any thinking at all. So of course it looks seamless and like life is easy, right? So yeah, anything you do daily, routine, can be done as a habit. This is actually a good book. I'm going to have to look through this to see if there's anything that I can glean extra little tips, right? Ah, saludos desde Puerto Rico. Hello. Why are you awake? Dad, what are you doing up? How are you doing, Daddy-o? Dad, how's your butt feeling after the bike ride? That was fun. This could be a really good book. Because a lot of us, I think, if you've had a brain injury, I know I've had head trauma all throughout my life. God knows when I was 17, I should have gone through the windshield of the truck that I was in. That was my angels. That was my ancestors. That was total protection from above. That I know for a fact. And I've known since I was a little girl, somebody's been watching over me, if not some beings. So, next. The Dilemma of the Alcoholic Marriage. Fortunately, I don't have any feeling of that. But this is a good book too. Commenting on these two remarks, the chairman said, "You know that no improvement can be accomplished unless we're consistent. If we haven't the courage to speak up when the drinker is in a sober phase, he'll just go on believing that there's no limit to what we'll tolerate. But we have to know that we can think before we can say it convincingly. We can't just bury it and hide our heads under a blanket of hope. Our husbands have a right to know what we expect from them. It's up to them to decide whether or not they want to live up to our expectations. Not letting them know how we feel is dishonest. It's just another way of pretending we accept the situation when we don't. It's a cop-out. If we want the alcoholic to face reality, we must face it first and not be afraid to share our feelings. I don't think that's the same as nagging as long as we don't repeat ourselves, and I don't think it's the same as taking his inventory. What do you think?" So, and that really boils down to, my mom would say this all the time, do you say what you mean? Say what you mean and mean what you say. Do you mean what you say? Why don't we say what we mean? Why aren't we honest enough to confront the troublesome partner with some straight truths? This is what my mom would do as far as writings, right? So, see how she underlines? Very common with Mommy. She would always be taking notes because that's just how she rolled, right? I'm going to put this off to the side. I know some people could use that. Now, I have some Open Door to the Universe booklets. These are high vibration. Oh, look, CDs too. There's probably pictures or something on these. Something to look at later. Celestial Journey Beyond the Stars. Open Door from the Universe. Argon, if anybody knows anything about Argon and Cryon. Oh, I'm sorry, not Argon, Cryon. Lifting the Veil to New Energy Apocalypse. This is book 11. I know I have another one floating around somewhere. The Institute. I don't know who wrote that. These are not from my mom. Somehow, The 7 Great Human Illusions of God. I don't know, I don't feel a strong pull to this. I think someone turned me on to the awareness of Cryon. But, ooh, food allergies. I just opened up to something interesting. Vaccinations. I mean, it goes into things like talking about war and such. Doesn't resonate, it's getting donated. So these, I'm going to bring these. I know somebody who might be interested in these because I met the woman and ended up buying these books directly from her at the time, and somebody else can benefit for these. You know, the other thing you can do, and I haven't done this in a while, I was saying it earlier, I started to say it. You can go on Amazon and you can list books and sell them that way, and you can sell, you know, just print out, they give you the labels and everything, and you just, if someone buys it, you just send it. Now, Feng Shui. These are a couple books that I have had and somewhat used. So, the Practical Encyclopedia of Feng Shui, understanding the ancient arts of placement, using the proven power of Feng Shui as a key to modern living, achieving health, wealth, love, prosperity, happiness, and harmony. Anybody done this before? And I have played with this book. It's just like things like using certain elements and in certain areas and knowing where the metal is and the wood and the earth and the water. It breaks a lot of cool stuff down. And the one thing that's cool about this book is some really pretty pictures. Gives me great ideas for doing, you know, design and architecture. Obviously, right? Now, like the Bagua mirror is important for a lot of this stuff. But you know, a lot of it's belief system in the end. Because whatever you believe is really what you're going to create as your reality. I'm getting rid of this book. I don't need it. I probably will see about listing this on Amazon maybe. See if that's a good location to put it. The Principles of Feng Shui. Here's another one. This one's a different book, and I did buy these. It has different symbolism and breaks it down a little differently than that other book. This other book behind me is Vastu Living, which is a little different than your typical standard. It's applying the ancient wisdom of the Hindu Vedas to activate and achieve harmony and bring the divine into every dimension of your environment. So Vastu is a little different, but it's similar. When I was in India some time ago, look, this was from my mom, the Jocelyn Museum. She was all about bookmarks. This Vastu Living, when I was in India, there was a gentleman who, he explained that the center where, the wellness center that he had, the Ayurvedic center, he had designed it specifically with the Vastu principles, which I thought was pretty cool. This is from my sister, and this book is the Holy Bible, the New Testament Covenant. And I have a little book. I will get rid of that. I love my sister. Sometimes you get books because there's intentions behind. It's a very sweet card. Not once upon a time, but all of the time. God rejoices in your life. He believes in you, watches over you, and tenderly keeps you in his constant care. You are valued and loved not only by those who know you, but by the one who created you. And so that was from my sister Lita. Pretty cool, huh? Alright, so trash. And has anybody read Ayn Rand's Atlas Shrugged or watched the movies? Big book. This is a gift from a friend. I will most likely list it on Amazon. So all of these books can go back in here because none of them are getting kept. We Are Sisters, and all the good ones aren't taken. That was a book given to me by a girlfriend. It's about belief systems in the end. Just be patient. The right one shows up when you're the right one for you. And if anything, whoever shows up is going to challenge you as to your own self-worth. What you deserve, right? What are y'all doing on this Super Saturday? I hope you're having a great weekend. And happy equinox. Happy first day of autumn. Don't fall. Just breeze through into autumn. Change the way you date and find lasting love, basically. I don't need that. This is We Are Sisters, a sequel to the bestseller The Friendships of Women. It's all about women supporting women, right? Right? Yes, Robin, that's exactly what we're doing. Live PD? On the TV, I take it. On the telly. Okay. So these are trash. Oh, this little thing. Thursday, March 15th. Alright, this is for my sister. I'll just put that there for a moment. This, I feel like this I might end up keeping. Women's Letters. America from the Revolutionary War to the present. And these are letters from, actually this is kind of cool. And this, I'll be honest, as women, I think it's really important to be able to read the writings of these important women. So this might not be a bad idea to keep this. And my mom definitely sent me this because there's all sorts of earmarks in it, like this. Check out this Women's Letters. Very cool. And it's a thick book. Mom always sent me lots of good books. So, let's put that there for the moment. And you know the cool thing about Amazon? You don't have to post a picture of the book. All you do is put the title in and it usually will bring up the information for it. And if any of these books look appealing to you and you're in my area, let me know. I'm more than willing to unload them. Paying it forward. And the other thing is you can always bring books by thrift stores and things like that. Now, we don't need any bait and switch books. Snacking. It's a good time to stack. Hi, Corrine. Now, here's some fun stuff. Because while I was grabbing stuff, I came across my yearbook. That was funny. And I was in the Miss Maine Teen Pageant. Now, for whatever reason, when we went around and I got one of those nice little certificates that says for accomplishment as a participant. $1992, the year I graduated high school. You know, it's a small world? Is a guy I dated who was going to school up at the University of Presque Isle. Turned out he had dated one of the Miss Maine Teen beauty queens. And I met her. I just thought that was funny. Oh yeah, I dated her. I'm like, oh my gosh, small world. So when I wrote over my picture, you know, like in a yearbook, how you would write a note to the person on their yearbook in your picture or something. For whatever reason, I thought I was writing on someone else's, but it turned out to be mine. So somehow I wrote over my own picture. Yes, that's me right there. Yep, we're doing a throwback. I have fun with these kinds of things. And I remember these ladies. They were all lovely. Everybody got along really, really well. I accidentally left behind a bathing suit. Yeah, so there was the Miss US, the main USA, and then there was the teen, and I was part of the teens. Lot of fun, lot of fun. Have you ever been in any type of a pageant? Anyone out there? Well, I'm going to have fun with that. I might just get on Facebook and see if those people are on Facebook. How funny is that? Isn't that what people do? Find you on Facebook? I told the story. I don't know, maybe I didn't. I had a guy who reached out and sent me a friend request. And I thought it was pretty interesting because when I saw his name, I was like, oh my gosh, who's that? And I always kind of scan whoever sends me friend requests when I get a chance to look through. But the names really stuck out because I'm like, I wonder. And then I had a moment where I go, he's in Maine. What are the chances? Well, it just so happens I had met him on like it was probably something school related with sports or something, and we went out on a date, and I knew his cousin. I'm not even going to go into the rest of it. It's just one of those old stories which make me chuckle. I was a teenager, just saying. And he reached out, so I sent a message and I said, hi, how do I know you, or something like that, or what made you, what made you send a friend request? And somehow it was like, oh no, I remembered. It clicked, and I said, is your cousin such and such? And they were like, yeah. And we dated or something, such and such. And it was like, oh yeah. So like he confirmed what I was thinking. And I just thought that was interesting. So yeah, funny stuff happens. Alright, so I'm the kind of person, and it's probably time to purge a lot of this stuff. Obviously I've been involved with a lot of, my handwriting has changed a lot over the years. Wow, I have some of my writings in here. This is really cool. Calm 494. So this was like a publishing course I took when I was working on my degrees. And we had to put together and create a newsletter. So I created a newsletter called Escapes. And it was an inspirational newsletter. I'll just show you the front. And I've always been I love to design. So like, I'm an artist anyway, but this is what it looked like. And this is the printed out version. Hopefully you can see that well. It had like, the table of contents and everything. And then I glued both sides of the paper because back in those days I didn't have a double-sided printer, and it wasn't like I was trying to get too fancy. I was just trying to make the class. So I had the welcome to Dream Escapes, the letter from the editor. I had a movie review. I had a friend of mine's poem that I put in here, and then his information. It's kind of cool when we start looking through our stuff, right? Oh, you're so sweet, Jessica. Yoga, walking, biking, housework, yard work, home ownership will do it to you too. Let me tell you. I also had in here dream techniques. Like all this stuff that I came together. I had forgotten this. I wrote this, right? November 1st in 1997, I attended a seminar entitled Awareness Through Dreams and Intuition. And I wrote down a whole bunch of information on that. And then how can you approach your dreams? Here's how I work with my dreams, right? And look at this. This is how old school we're going. School documents on, you know, floppy, like hard discs. Wow. Back in the day, happy dreaming and enjoy your dream catcher, you know, like auras. I mean, this is the kind of stuff I wrote in my, I did auras and their colors and their meanings interpreted. Wow. Some local events in because it's the time I was working on my degree in Maryland. That is really cool. And there's some other stuff like articles I wrote. Communication. Yep. Great expectations lead to great success. These are kind of cool. I love looking through my old class stuff. No matter when and where I did it. So this was in 1998. Right? Yep. Spring of 1998. And then I have a whole bunch of old, this is kind of rad, but I loved using, these are a lot of my computer notes and things, because I used to be an Oracle database administrator. I was a Unix systems administrator. I was a programmer using C and SQL and Ada, yeah, you name it. They were talking really going back here. So like these books were great, and I remember I got these when I worked at the different bases. So like with all the lines and stuff, I always just loved that. My phone directory when I worked at NSA, that's funny. I don't need any of that stuff. So I'll probably go through and purchase stuff later. But I've got a whole lot of unused paper space in here. But meanwhile, we got things like, anybody need to select, you know, like my old notes when I was doing database administration. How exciting is that? It's pretty mundane and boring. At the time, I really enjoyed it because I can be very analytical and creative. And I'm very resourceful. Anybody who's worked with me knows I've been able to fix and do some pretty fun stuff. So this was an editing your newsletter. This went with that class that I was just doing that, when I did that newsletter. This was part of that. I could actually sell that if anybody wants it, or I can give it away. It doesn't really, I don't need that. Then we have behind that, resume and letter writing. So when I got ready to get out of the military, Me Inc., they had something called Transition Assistant, the TAP, Transition Assistance Program, to help those of us getting out of the military find our next job, our path, our career, right? So 30-second commercial, and we had to come up with something. And I wrote down things like international commerce facilitator, system administrator, DBA, the ideal candidate, confident, self-assured, integrity, hardworking, continuing education, communication skills, help, bottom line, posture, eye contact, jargon, and focus. So, my name is Lana Labonte. I am good at, this is what I wrote, and I haven't read this yet, so I'm reading it just now. Working with others, brainstorming and troubleshooting, networking, contacts and bringing people together, motivating and influencing people, adapting to change, learning. I want a job as an international business facilitator to help bring European companies into the U.S., inform them on laws and what they need to do to import their products. I could benefit a company because I make people think. I bring in a fresh approach to thinking and applying new ideas to the job. I play the devil's advocate, and I'm not afraid to listen and learn from others. Wow, I guess I had a different focus back then. Totally different than where I'm at now. Describe an accomplishment that you are proud of and why. These are fun. Sun server. I had to bring it upstairs with an excess of equipment. I had to contact system support and help desk personality for connectivity network drop. Even being in the same organization, communication became cross and information was incorrect. The end result was I found out the chain and procedures to connect my system. Our team no longer has to sit on a cold computer floor to manage our Sun systems and is much more productive. So a lot of times in my past, I might have pissed off management, but I always get shit done. Because I would go out of my way to solve problems and be resourceful. So that was fun. But that was, they gave us this whole booklet of, helping us transition from our military environment and translating it into a job out on the economy or in civilian life. And so this is a resume book. I don't need that either. So I'll probably get rid of these. I'll just put that over here. Then I had this book called Marketing Yourself for a Second Career, another thing that they gave us. Oh my gosh, is that what I think it is? That is so funny. Advantages of membership, and this was something to be a member of. Another thing I can get rid of. Another booklet, Transition Assistance. This is what I'm talking about. Military likes to try to help, which I think is good. They didn't always do this. I don't need this. So that's another thing I can get rid of. Heart and Soul Internet Job Search. Never before published secrets to recapture your dream job using the internet. And I never used this. So another book, Purge and Discard. A financial planning guide for 2002, because that's when I was getting out. And this was cool because, there are a lot of people in the Air Force, the Army, the Navy, the Marines. A lot of people go into the military. They don't know how to budget. They don't even know how to write checks. They don't know what it's like to have a banking account, some of us take this for granted. That people don't know how to invest, and they don't know how to function on that level. Like a lot of the people come from homes that are, unstable. They're looking to find stability and security, whether through a paycheck or a job that keeps them focused. And I get that because I was looking for that as well. And so to be taught the simple, what we take for granted, basics of life, this is huge. It's got everything from insurance worksheets to survivor benefits and Veterans Administration benefits and things like that. I probably will keep this because I want to scan it real quick in case there's something I might be missing. It never hurts to know. But, I remember when they first started talking about this stuff when I was in the military. And I was like, wow, that's awesome. They're talking about investing money, putting money aside so that you're going to be okay in the future. And I used to always have people talk about how important it was to invest and get 401k plans. And I was like, wow, why would you do that if you're supposed to have a pension? And they're like, because you can't count on anything. You have to take the initiative to decide on what your future is going to be and how you're going to support and live, right? So these are just some old things I'm going to throw away as well. That's trash. Okay, we're getting into yearbooks again. Kingston. Oh, this was actually a good little book for explaining memory CPUs, and I don't need that. That'll go in the trash. So, senior yearbook. Salute. This was Hodgton, Maine, technically, 1992. Look at our class. Looky, looky. Some of these people are in our group. And my picture. Can you see her? She's in the middle. Right? Wearing the turtleneck with that coral sweater, which had pockets. And I had stretch pants underneath it. And I believe I got that when I was working at the Limited. And I was a cheerleader. I was in the cross country. More. That was our small class in Maine. This is me, right? Up on shoulders on Eric Blanchett. Something hit the floor. I don't know what it was. I know there's pictures in here of, wow, when we were kids. Some of these pictures actually went back to when we were in elementary school, which I went back and forth. So I went to 3 different high schools, but I grew up with a lot of these people in elementary school as well. There were just a couple years where I moved away here and there. Wow, it's so cool to see people, I swear. They've changed. We've all changed so much, right? And we had to write, this was funny, words of wisdom. So everybody got like a little spot. And like, here's mine over here on the side. Right there, right? And I wrote, likes traveling, Florida, progressive and dance music, water skiing, ice skating, and AJG, which was Aaron Joseph Graff, who was my high school sweetheart at the time. My dislikes. Her dislikes are being walked into between classes and driving around Holton on weekends. Her favorite expression is, oh yeah, it is? Why wouldn't it be? Oh yeah, I guess I used to say this. Oh yeah, it is. Why wouldn't it be? Her ambition in life is to become successful in the business field. And my senior quote was, experience is a full-time job, yet some learn more than others from it. Interesting to read what you wrote when you were in high school, right? Yeah, I was kind of deep even back then. And a wise ass to boot. I was very facetious, sarcastic. Yep, I was a spitfire. Just saying. I still am. It ain't stopping at me now. Oh, here we go. More pictures. I swear there's 2 pictures of her in there of that. That's so funny. The Rockathon. A night to rock away. We got together to earn money for the yearbook. The one yearbook I did not get was from my junior year when I lived in New York. I do wish I had a copy of that. Because that was when I was in... that was a cool school. That was a much bigger school, too. And the school down here, I'll show that yearbook's much larger. A senior biology trip. I don't remember that. Or did I? I don't even remember. Maybe I went, maybe I didn't. Some of my classmates riding a donkey in the school. Oh my gosh, it's funny. I know there's pictures of me in here from cheerleading. That I do know. Probably about 4 of them. That's probably where I had the most pictures, is in the cheerleading section. And then there we are. Senior class presents One Step from Paradise. That was our prom theme. So, funny enough, there's me, there's me, there's me. I was the splits girl, okay? I was the one always doing the splits. But I wish somebody would remember to tell me to turn my arm so that my elbow didn't look like it was breaking off, right? So, there's me on the floor, right there. And then there's me again, stretching and talking to the cheerleading coach. Yeah, I would have my hair like really like poofed up on the top and kind of like the Jane Seymour. So funny. Did you play sports in school? If you did, what did you play? It's kind of fun. I hadn't looked through this in a long time. I was always involved in something. Every year I did something. If it wasn't honors clubs or newsletter, there's another thing. I did that my freshman or senior year. I can't even remember. So funny. And then for some reason, the previous senior class, their pictures were in here, and from like the prom the year before, and ours were supposed to be in the next following year. So our prom pictures never made it into this yearbook. But I know there was a picture in here from something else, but yeah. Next, let's move on to the Florida one, because that's a big one. Anybody need a calculus book? I'll tell you what, I don't need it, but this was a really good reference, and I can tell you right now, calculus, if you learn through the proper reference, is a lot easier than if you get the wrong, like you got a hard way thing, right? So that's gonna go, let's see, DOS for Dummies. I'm not expecting I'm gonna ever need this again, so it's time to get rid of it. I'm not kidding. I know a lot of DOS commands. If I absolutely needed it, I'm going to get rid of that. Unix. Now, this book got a lot of use for me because I used to use a lot of Unix. Solaris, SunOS. Just knowing the basic Unix commands and having to do everything, which, believe it or not, if you run an Apple, that's Unix based. So technically I could possibly end up needing some of this, but I'm gonna list it. I also have, what is this? An empty journal? No, it has some information in it. So what class was I taking? Social worker. Oh, I was taking a psychology class, so this has some psychology writing in it. But predominantly, this is also a great little empty journal. You know, empty pages, write in them. Keeping that, just to keep for stuff to put in. Now, this little red book has a history. Balkan Kayak. Okay. I'm going to divulge a little secret squirrel stuff. Not really. I know, right? The dummy series are great. I've used a lot of dummy series. Now, this booklet was almost like the Holy Grail when I was working in Vicenza, Italy. And the reason being was I'm the type of person, again, I'm very resourceful. And this became a very good reference that some people were afraid that I had, like, they're like, Lana, I need your booklet because I know you got all the detail, the data, you kept all really good notes. I wrote SOPs, also known as standing operating procedures, and I would do screenshots, and I did them very detailed, so you couldn't mess it up. We're talking everything from point and click. You can't get the stuff wrong. Even when I worked for Northrop Grumman and I was doing them, I would do them just so easy. But it was funny because everything in here was like gold. Anyway, it is what it is. It's not necessary. I don't need it anymore. In a way, I almost want to keep it just so that somebody could find it kind of like in the archive and go, wow. But it's a posterity. It's going to go in the trash. It's just, I'll have to look through it and see if there's any old notes or secret squirrel stuff. I don't think I put anything else in there for information. Then I have From Air Force Blue to Corporate Gray, another one of those transition books. Oh, I made sure my investment strategies were on track. Career transition stuff. And now, this book right here is a really good book. I took a sexual behavior course, which was like a 6 credit hour course. It was super deep, and you had so much juicy material in it. This and I was really into the Masters and Johnson movie, which was not the movie, but the series on Showtime or something. And this book is called Masters and Johnson on Sex and Human Loving. Seriously, really good book. And lots of juicy information. I'm just going to tell you, you can't learn enough about your body. And you got to kind of do a hands-on approach. Just saying. It's a really good book. I'm probably going to list it. And then last but not least of all the books that we've gone through, and then I'm done, toast for the night and going to bed, is my high school yearbook from 1990, 89-90 here in Florida. And I am actually on this cover, which is so funny. But I have an arm across my head. So all you can see is like my big tidal wave. Anybody have a tidal wave growing on when they were in high school where they flipped it up and feathered it? And this was a bigger school, can you tell? So I have a bunch of little trash things going on over here too. I was in the class in 1992. But here's a little tidbit. So I think I told this story once before, but you have to remember it goes back to some other video. My sister, I was stationed in Korea. And my mom sent me this picture blown up. And I'm looking at this picture going, I don't remember owning that dress. Isn't that a beautiful picture? That's my youngest sister. So the whole time I'm looking at this picture thinking it's me, I'm realizing it's my younger sister at some point. I'm like, how did I think that was me? But we do that, right? Have you ever done that? Did you have a sibling that you resemble so closely? Me and Lori look the closest between the three of us. So, yeah. This was a tough year because my one of the guys that I had a crush on, that was the year he committed suicide. It was the year I lost my virginity. Had really weird experiences that year. It was just a very funky, crazy time. I did some stupid things. Nothing I regret, it's just you look back and you realize, wow, okay. And I know why I did them. That's the key. So I did them because I didn't have a high self-esteem. I wanted people to like me. You know, that kind of thing. So class of 92. Wow. Some of these people are here in the group. Some of them are still good friends. Okay. So the first picture I had taken, I wasn't crazy about it, so I had another picture taken. You're going to see what I mean by, literally, I had the side tidal wave thing going in this picture. It's so funny. Looking at these pictures. Wow. I don't even remember some of these names, and I look, and I'm like, whoa. So brace yourself. This was me as a sophomore in high school. That one. Yep, that's the hair. It was big. It was high. I had a guy who used to tell me, called me tidal wave. I'm like, my hair wasn't even near as high as some of the other women. And that serves all the books that I'm going through for tonight, at least. Because there's a whole lot more, but I'm ready to purge the ones that I just went through. How about that? So the yearbooks are going to find a new home. I have a lot of photo albums, too. That's the other thing. Like the old-fashioned photo albums. I just need to find a spot for the... Where would you put your yearbooks? Do you keep your yearbooks? Have you gotten rid of your yearbooks? All right, y'all. Thank you for joining in. I hope you're doing well with this declutter challenge. Tomorrow is day 9, and we're going to be going through my wallet. What? You're going to see, it's not, I guess it's kind of, to me, it's kind of cluttered. It's a lot thicker than it needs to be. I'm going to have to tidy it up and remove some things out of there. But you're going to get a real glimpse into what I carry around when I do go out. Now the purse, on the other hand, sometimes I shake my head. I'm like, it's super heavy, and I don't even know why it needs to be that heavy. It really doesn't need to be. Yeah, those hairstyles were super like high, rad, and funky. So y'all have a wonderful evening. Let's do a little love spin bunny hop. Boom! What?